Transitory is not a word that is common in language that we use on a day-to-day basis, but it is something that has been thrown out a lot in the media and can circle around when it comes to a subject called inflation. The definition by Webster of transitory is something that is of brief duration, temporary, or tending to pass away. In other words, it is not persistent. Why do I bring this up? Last summer, and you can go to our YouTube channel, you'll see a video that I did. I had a little prop, I inflated a pink balloon, and we talked about this subject of inflation because we had started to see it creep into the economy. Various metrics that economists use, the Federal Reserve uses to track these things, started to see it come into play, and our current Fed Chairman, Jay Powell, used the word transitory. He gave us the sense, us being the general public, that this was not something of big concern to him. That this was just going to pass, it would just work itself through the system. However, fast forward 5 or 6 months now, it has not worked itself through the system. In fact, the Fed has had to back off of that kind of thinking and be more aggressive, okay, to address this. Let's talk about this, though, for a second. So if we want to use the definition of transitory as not being permanent, I totally agree. No problem with that at all. I don't think inflation, as we're seeing it today, is going to be persistent forever. It's not going to just stick around. Things cycle. That's normal. However, to act as though it's not having an economic impact is also a little naive, and they've had to backtrack on that. I think when that first came out, even if you watch that video, you will find me saying something to the effect of being a little skeptical, dubious, all right? So all that is great. We can sit here and talk about textbook concepts, academic concepts about inflation and how we fight it. At the end of the day, how does that impact you? What decisions does an investor need to make? How are we guiding clients? What should you as a viewer of this video consider? All right, so let's look at this for a second. Inflation is not a good thing. It can, a little bit of inflation is okay. Too much inflation is not a good thing. It can cause a weight on economic growth. It can cause a weight where companies aren't paying as much. It can cause the cost of money to go up. And the Fed has to take action to combat it. It's going to have to do something. In fact, we just found out in December that year over year we're running at 7% inflation rate. That is the highest inflation rate we have seen in 40 years. If you are 50, 60 years of age or older, you will remember being an adult back in the late 70s, early 80s, the cost of money was astronomical. You could get CDs that were paying 12% interest. Your mortgage might have been 13, 14, 15%. We don't want to go back there. That's not a good thing. That's not a recipe for economic growth. So the Fed is having to take action, and we're in a little bit of a wait and see. They may raise interest rates, not may, they will raise interest rates in 2022. They have started to reduce what we call quantitative easing, so there's less money printing, there's less money being injected into the economy. All of this can have a slowing effect. The economy may continue to grow, it may be able to absorb it, but the Fed is on high alert now saying, ooh, we got an issue here. So what you want to consider, first of all, it may cost you more money to borrow, right? That could be a corporation, that could be you getting a mortgage. Any of that is right now real time on the table. If you were trying to get a mortgage, for example, and you went and got a quote last week, it could be totally different next week or 3 weeks later. All right, so take that into consideration. When it comes to investments, the Fed may have to more rapidly than anticipate raise interest rates. There is an inverse or a reverse correlation or action. If they raise interest rates, bond prices will come down initially, okay? So if you are a more conservative investor, this is something that you need to actively address. You need to have a conversation with your financial advisor, whoever it is you go to for advice. If you do this on your own, you need to look at your portfolio. Take into consideration what things would be impacted if we have a year or two, okay, of rising interest rates. We've been at a zero interest rate policy for quite some time now. So those are all things to be aware of. Money costing more, rising interest rates, all of this could have a dampening effect on economic growth. So not being doomsday, just trying to be realistic with the situation at hand. If we can ever be of help, don't hesitate to reach out, email, phone, website. We're here to guide if we can. Ian Maddox, HMFP. Until next week.